Welcome back to Bayona's RC World. Today's video, we got the Dynaflite Super Decathlon 89-inch wingspan kit, basically all built up, ready for final sanding and covering with Flite Monokote. This is going to be the orange, white with a little black accent, typical decathlon scheme. If you like content like this, you want to go ahead and see this aircraft basically covered, the process from start to finish. Then go ahead and sit back, relax, enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you are subscribed to the channel, I surely appreciate you. So without further ado, let's get into the actual covering with Flite Monokote on the Dynaflite Super Decathlon kit. So we got the sanding of the fuselage basically completed with 220 grit, 320, and then finished off with 400. And from there we blew everything off, all the sanding dust and all the nooks and crannies basically with the compressor, and then we went over the whole structure with a damp rag. Basically it's alcohol and water, and it's not too soaked, right? It's just damp, just enough to go ahead and wipe off all the light sanding dust residue, and then from there we'll tack rag it before we actually start the covering job. All right, we're going to get right into the covering of the Dynaflite Super Decathlon. We're going to start off with Flite Monokote Jet White. What we're going to do is cut strips roughly about an inch in width, various lengths, and we're going to go ahead and start covering all the corners of the horizontal stabilizer to the actual fuselage, and from the horizontal stabilizer to the vertical fin. All right, so all the corners, we're going to get that Monokote all nice and ironed on in there. That way we know that all our corner joints basically will be covered with some sort of Monokote. That way it just makes it easier to Monokote the full portion of the stabs and the fin later on. All right, and once we're done with that, we will start covering the actual surfaces there, to include the bottom section of the actual fuselage. All right, so let's go ahead and grab some X-Acto blades and our straight edge ruler, and we'll start cutting strips. 1/2 inch. Make sure my center is 1/2 inch as well. Double check that. Just double check. All right. Some strips right there. All right, guys, so we got the strips basically cut. I also got the bottom section. Since this whole section is going to be covered with white Monokote, I went ahead and I cut me a piece that will basically cover this whole thing. Now, eventually we're going to have to cut it, especially here at the door and then at the landing this thing also kind of has a different shape. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of all that. We're gonna try to go ahead and just cover everything one shot. However, once you get up to here, it gets kind of tricky because of the different angles. All right, so first things we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and peel the back end off of the monocote here. Let's go with it. Just gonna peel the whole thing off. And if you don't actually have an actual sock by Hobbyco or whatnot, this one is a Hanger 9 sock. All right, I got this on my Hanger 9 sealing iron. Now, if you don't actually have the Hanger 9 sealing iron, you got, like, let's say the Tower Hobbies one, it still work. If anything, you know, instead of spending what I think this was $6, $8 for one sock, you could just use 100% cotton shirt and just wrap your whole iron with it. And then I use zip ties, and I'll zip tie it right in the back, pull everything nice and tight, and that works fine. You will see it in my other videos on how to monocote. I actually got different I believe I have a t-shirt on there once or a few times, and then I also used this rag right here from Home Depot. Don't use that because it leaves a lot of grooves and a lot of scratches, because this is a microfiber towel and it has all these raised, you know, it's real thick, so don't use that. Anywho, let's go ahead and start tacking this down. Now on my iron, I got it pretty much almost pegged out full max. Now this is an older iron, all right, so it has a few covering jobs on under this iron right here. So what I'm gonna do is just slowly work my way towards the front. And put in some pressure down onto the monocote. That way we're pushing all the air bubbles out. All right. And you can kind of pull the monocote while you're doing this. Apply pressure. I like going in a little circular motion all the way towards the tip. You could also just go straight just like that. So long as you keep constant pressure down and you're working those air bubbles out, you'll be okay. All right, just like that. And we'll kind of work going towards the sides. I forgot what I was using this seating iron on, because I got some black streaks here, marks, and it's going onto the monocote. That's not a big deal. You can use lacquer thinner. You can use even if you have a trim solvent, which is pretty hard to get from here. I don't even know if they still make that thing. I normally just go directly to thinner, lacquer thinner. It takes off pretty much everything, and it keeps the monocote nice and safe. You don't have to worry about that part. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now, since this was an open area, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut this right here. We're just gonna give it some excess. Now I'm gonna give it some excess, that way we can have the monocote go into the hatch area, just like that. This right here. Okay. And we're just going to trim this off here. And from here, we're just going to continue working our way forward. And from here, we can just start moving the monocote. Start from here, work our way up to the front. Once again, get to the actual landing gear portion. We'll cut a little bit right smack in the center. We'll go ahead and take that monocote, that excess, and fold it in and seal that as well. Then we'll get to the front. the bottom section of the Dynaflite Super Decathlon basically covered. And then today I got the left side bottom horizontal stabilizer covered, and that's pretty much how that's gonna look. Alrighty, get back to work here. Alright, so we got the bottom horizontal stabilizer pretty much all covered up, as you can see. Alright, we also got a little bit of overlap here for the orange, so when we go ahead and do the side for the side of the fuse, we basically can link it up with here with this orange, making sure that everything, to include all corners, basically have some sort of covering on there. Especially we're using smoke on here, so we're gonna have smoke oil. As you can see, we got the corner wedges of Monokote, all right, ironed on, attached to the vertical fin and also the horizontal stabilizer. And with doing this, this allows and to ensure that Monokote is deep down into that corner. All right, that way you don't have to use a big sheet like this and try to bend it over and iron it down that way, and then make slits here just to accommodate that. Right, what we could do now, since we have that wedged in there, we can just basically take a piece of Monokote and cut it, fit it right, perfect match to the actual vertical fin. And like I said, since we got that Monokote down in the corner there'll be no exposed wood down in there. We don't have to worry about trying to get this Monokote to conform to that edge at this time. Right, we can just concentrate now and just cover in the actual fin. So that's the whole reason for doing all these little separate strips of Monokote onto the corner jams or joints throughout the aircraft, to include like the trailing edges, the top, the front leading edge. You know, you can put strips of Monokote there as well. That way, should you come to, like, let's say this portion, like little radius area, right, sometimes the Monokote is going to be hard to really conform to this area, so you're going to have to put little slits in the Monokote just so that each area here can conform when you're pulling and tugging and adding the heat. All right, so doing that ahead of time also saves a lot of time in the future when it comes to monocoating. All right, now everything is all personal preference now. All right, there's no one way, is the best way. You take everything that you learn and you put it together and you do what works for you. If it's taking it from, this particular modeler, this hobbyist, type deal, and then taking all the methods and putting it together to make your own, hey, by all means, do what you got to do. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start peeling off the back end of the Monokote. We're gonna go ahead and apply this right here, just like so. And the reason why I am doing this is not really gonna affect anything, but it's just something that I do because we still have this piece of Monokote in there. I like to get it as close as possible, if not tight fitted, alright, all the way down in there to minimize the seam. Alright, so when I do the top portion of the horizontal stabilizer, it'll do the same thing. It will butt up completely against the vertical fin. Alright, and you'll see how everything falls in play. But by doing that as well, it just gives it a better, more attractive look. Alright, real clean. Alright, so what we're gonna do is grab the heating iron. Now, as you can see, I can put my hand here, but then again, my hand sensitivity you know, since it's a work hand, it's not all that sensitive, so I can't really base myself on my hand, right? But this is where my temp is at. Normally it's either full max, or depending if I'm doing monocote over monocote, I would be within this range here, the lowest setting. That still you're able to melt the or activate the glue in the backside of the monocote or the paint. All right, so right now roughly about there. Not too sure exactly what the temp is. The main key here is to see what the monocote is doing. All right, if you're applying heat, like let's say right now, let's say I do this and it really sticks down, then we're good. If you're applying heat and you notice that the monocote is not, you know, you don't see it really adhering to the surface, then you need to increase your heat. All right, other ways to test is take a strip of monocote, take off the backing. If you put your monocote on top, you know, make sure that you're in the right direction. You put your monocote on the heating iron like so, and if it wrinkles up very quick, then you're too hot. All right, you see how this is? I can feel the tackiness. See, it's getting tacky already, but you don't see the monocote wrinkling up real quick. If the monocote wrinkles up so quick, then your heat is too high. All right, now this is for those of you who, you know, not really in keen with utilizing a pocket thermometer all the time, making sure that you're by the book, you know, because sometimes things don't go based off of that, you know, just real world application. All right, so as you can see, I'm putting the monocote on top. Now, granted that I do have a sealing iron sock on here, it also helps protect that monocote, you know, and so it kind of takes away a little bit of the heat, right, compared to if you were to utilize the iron without a sock and you put it on. Woo, that one's hot. All right, so if you don't have a sock on there and you're at the same setting I am now, that monocote will wrinkle up real quick. All right, so utilizing a sock does two things. It kind of reduces the heat somewhat, but at the same time it does protect the monocote big time. All right, now if I didn't make any sense there, then oh well, it is what it is. I'll try. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and ensure that the bottom sections here are really down with it into that corner, and I'm going to kind of pull, make it tight, that way I don't get no wrinkling. I'm just going to tack, and since the iron here is pretty thick at the tip here, it's going to be hard to really get in there without wrinkling ahead of it. All right, and so this is where these little the trim sealing irons come in play. All right, so I can actually really isolate that heat into the exact location that I want. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add the heat right there in this corner, just like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will eliminate all the pre-wrinkle here. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, is that this is thicker than this. So if you were to try to utilize your sealing iron, your main one, to get down into this cranny right here, you're gonna put your sealing iron right down in there, and what's gonna happen is you got bigger heat surface right here, so it's gonna start warming up and heating right up here as well. All right, and so you might lock down the monocote here before you get down into that corner, hence making wrinkles or folds, whatnot, prior to the actual indicated area that you're trying to lock down. All right, so that's the reason why I use the sealing iron, and then I'm just going to seal this area down here so we ensure that this is all locked in there and that it will not move on me. All right, because we don't want this part to move. This is what's gonna set everything, give it that nice look. All right, so we got that done, and then from here we can actually start tugging and pulling on the Monokote to get it nice and tight. All right, nice and taut. All right, so I'm gonna kind of look where I'm pulling, look what the Monokote is doing. All right, so if I pull here, all right, I'm making sure that from here to here is nice and tight. As you can see, you see a wrinkle here. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera. So if I pull it this way a little, get it nice and tight. But just imagine, you always got to think ahead as well. So what happens to the other side if this was ironed down? If you pull this side now, will it remove most of the wrinkles? It looks like it gave more wrinkles, right? Because we can't really do much on this side now because it's locked down. All right, so I'm going to just look, right? So it looks better if I pull here first on this corner, because this is the vast majority. I'm going to pull here. As you can see where the wrinkles are at, they're disappearing from there to here, right? And so then after I tack this down and I pull this side, it should get rid of this main wrinkle here. As you can see, that we could work with. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this tight, not too tight now, just tight enough where you get some nice tension. Go ahead and tack that there, as you can see here. All right, and then from here we're going to pull this side right here, just like that, and we're going to go ahead and tack this right here, just like so. I'm going to grab a little bit of that leading edge right here. All right, remember there's a little radius here, a little curve. All right, so we're going to kind of pull this tight. We're going to seal and lock this centerpiece down, just like that. We're going to go ahead and pull somewhere around here. We're going to apply the heat. We're going to lock this down as well. All right, just like that. And then from here, I'm going to lock this, and all this is all manipulating the Monokote. All right, and then we're going to grab here in the center. We're going to lock this down here, just like that. I'm going to pull here. Mind you, you don't see me putting them iron smack in the center just yet. All right, what I'm doing is just making sure that the whole surrounding area is sealed down, locked in place. Monokote is as taut as it can be at the moment. Alright, just like that. I'm going to grab our blade. Because this has a curve right here and the Monokote is nice and straight right here, it's going to be hard to kind of pull this within this curve. So we're going to have to kind of give this some room to be able to move around in. So I'm going to give it a little cut, just like that. Now I'm able to come over here, just add a few slits just to help the Monokote So when I'm pulling, as you can see, now it wants to come down in that curve area. All right, so that's what we're doing here, just like that. All right, so we're gonna grab the seating iron again, this one here. I'm gonna make sure that I got this front tip basically locked in. I thought I did, but guess not. All right, so from here we're gonna start right about here, utilizing this small little iron seating tool. And we're little by little gonna keep pulling and putting a little heat, locking this down. All right. Just like that. What I'm doing is I'm pulling the monocote, basically putting heat and pulling it down. All right, we're not going to be worried about what's going on up here. All right, so don't go over there and start grabbing your heating iron or your seating iron, I mean, and trying to get those wrinkles out. Don't worry about that just yet. All right. So we got that going on. Let me go ahead and grab that big seating iron there. All right, now that we got that portion done, we're gonna go ahead and get the majority of this now. Kind of rolling over that leading edge, just like so. Locking everything in place. We're trying to go a little bit past center of the leading edge, and by doing that, it ensures that we are getting a nice overlap. Alright, now like I said, this is not really intended to be a how-to video because I got so many of them out there already, but doesn't hurt just to go ahead and touch bases on this again. Alright, okay, and so we got down here as well. I'm gonna pull this, just kind of make it nice and tight. We'll just use this seating iron here, kind of lock this down, come down here, lock this down, and while we're doing that, we're going to take this all the way down to that bottom edge right there, and we're going to tuck that in there, get it nice and sealed as well. Just like that. Okay. We're gonna take all this one in here. We're gonna go ahead and just make a little slit, kind of clear that off. That way we can continue bending this down. All right. Then we'll go ahead and apply heat there to really lock that down. Pull. Bring it down. Pull, bring it down. All right, just like that. And by doing that, we are ensuring we got a little bit of that monocote overlapping the backside of the trailing edge. And of course, we're not seeing what I'm doing because I didn't readjust the camera. My bad. All right, so what I just did here was I took this trailing edge piece and I pulled down while I took the sealing iron, kind of followed the Monokote down, sealing it towards the training edge, just like that. Alright, and so like I said, what that does, is you can see where it's at right now. It has a little bit of a lip, and so what that does, it helps me grab the Monokote like such, utilizing your single edge razor blade, popping it in there, and use the training edge as a guide to cut your Monokote nice and straight, just like that. Alright, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Alright, and so from here we got that. We're going to go ahead and seal now this top center. We're going to pull, and then we're going to seal the edges down. Alright, we're going to pull and seal it down. And it does the same thing as we did the training edge. Alright, as you can see, it has a little bit of a lip. Alright, and so once again, we're going to take this razor blade, single edge razor blade, we're going to come around, we're going to utilize this edge of the fin, butt this blade up against there nice and tight, and then we're just going to come straight back, following it as a guide while we keep that Monokote nice and taut, and it will produce a nice straight line. Alright, so from here we can just go ahead and take off this excess here. Alright, just go ahead and seal this completely down to that Monokote. We're going to do the same thing with the training edge. Seal it nice down, and then we're going to go ahead and work on the front leading edge area. Same thing. Alright, so now that we got the Monokote on the leading edge, a little bit past center all the way through, what we're going to do now is utilize our single edge razor blade, and we are just going to cut the Monokote off. Same deal, put your razor blade right in on that top portion of the leading edge, the fin. Keep the Monokote nice and tight, so work as slow as you can. Use everything to your advantage. Just don't cut your fingers. So I'm using the leading edge as a guide to cut the Monokote nice and straight all the way down. Alright, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and seal where we just cut. We're going to seal that off to the world. Alright, just seal that to ensure that will be sealed off. No oil, fuel, residue, and all that will get trapped within that seam. Give you years and years of Monokote protection. Alright, so we're done with that. Now we're going to take this portion here and we're going to trim this off. After we kind of bend that down slightly and kind of give it a little seal, just like so, and we'll take our blade and we'll just basically cut that off, just like that. Just trim it off. Alright, and then we'll seal that down as well. If you notice throughout this whole process, I did not want to put my sealing iron at the center of this whole structure or vertical fin. As you can see, we still got wrinkles here and there at the center. We're not worried about that now, because this is where the magic comes in. All right, and that is the use of your heat gun. All right, and so please practice utilizing your heat gun. And if you do have this piece on your heat gun, make sure it is pressed in really well, because the last thing you need is having this thing going on. It's all nice and hot. You're going over your main wing or whatnot, and this thing falls down. If this falls and it hits your monocote, it's gonna melt the hole right through. All right, so make sure you got this thing on. If you don't need it on, take it off. It's better to just have it open. All right, but this kind of, you know, diverts all that hot air to a single location, making it nice and concentrated compared to it being open and your heat is just dissipating all over the place. All right, so from here, we're gonna turn it on, and we are gonna concentrate keeping the heat on the monocote. You're gonna be watching the monocote very carefully now, and once you start seeing it shrink and tighten up, move your heat, you know. So don't keep it concentrated in one section, otherwise you'll burn a hole right through your monocote. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this. You see how the wrinkle is disappearing, just like so. We're gonna keep going around. We're gonna get this nice and drum tight. We're getting all that wrinkle and all the wrinkles out. Sometimes you're gonna have to kind of go on a side view angle to see what you're doing. Just keep that heat moving. Once you get used to the monocote, the heat gun, you will know when to pull back and when to, you know, stop adding heat. So there you go. All right, so we got that nice and tight. All right, next, what we can do now is come back with your sealing iron, and this you can now seal, because now I do have like flying wires that's going to go through here. So you want to ensure that this monocote is really adhered to the surrounding areas, because you're going to be poking a hole right through that monocote. All right, so you want to make sure that this monocote is really adhered to the wood here in this section. Otherwise, you poke a hole there and that thing's floating above the wood. If it tears, it's going to continue tearing into the open areas. You're going to basically have a ripped monocote. So from here, now I can go ahead and take my sealing iron, really seal that monocote onto the wood all the way around, just like so. All right, just like that. And I'm ironing this monocote down, really sealing it down. All right. So we got this far onto the actual fuselage, and I was thinking, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut this about right here, only because I'm gonna get another piece of orange that I'm going to make a template with. I'm gonna make a template, and that orange I'm gonna cut it where it overlaps the black, going around like that. Alright, so it'll be okay, but for the most part, you know, we're getting it done, and I don't consider this one of my best covering jobs, but it works. You know, just getting back, my mind's still elsewhere and other things, but it is what it is. Still trying to have fun here. But so right now we're just continuing on the ironing, just sealing all the edges here, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna trim this off, because the top part is going to get placed on here as one piece. Alright, and then we're gonna heat shrink that with the heat gun, get it drum tight. So I'm not too worried about that part. But everything else here, we're just trying to seal all the edges. So this one here, this is just old junk right now. This is just trash, but we don't need these parts. So it's just excess right now that I'm just gonna cut off. Just get it out of the way here. I'm not too worried about this part. Alright, just try to save whatever scrap I have. Alright, so that's that. We're also going to seal pretty much with the iron all the way around the edge of the windows, just like that. And then we'll cut it open and kind of overlap the material inside the door and the window and all that stuff. Alright. Just like that. Like I said from the beginning, this is not a how-to, it's not a real tutorial or anything like that. If you want to see other monocoating jobs, you can see the how-to videos that I made a while back in regards to how to use Monokote. Alright, but other than that, it's pretty much self-explanatory from here on out. Alright, so here's how it looks right now. The bottom side, the hatch, back end right there. Alright, and eventually I'm going to put some 2 black stripes, pinstriping that goes like that all the way to the front, and then eventually the white, oh no, is that a sunburst? Yes, sunburst, starburst, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. And on the bottom of the wing, I'm going to have black stripes, almost like the chipmunk and stuff. Alright, and so we got that pretty much all nice and drum tight, as you can see. Alright, there's no wrinkles on there. Alright, all the way around, just like so. Alright, and so from here, we're going to go ahead and open up that hole. And how I do that is just basically taking your seating iron, or not seating iron, but your soldering iron. I got a little tip there. I'm going to find the center of that, and I'm just going to poke the hole right through. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, nice and clean. Alright, so that is how I get the hole through and through. As you can see, there to there. Alright, now on to the horizontal step. Alright guys, so how we're covering the top here, as you can see, this is one whole piece, and what I had done was right smack in the center of this piece, I basically cut a slot, right, basically right here on these 2 ends. I just cut a slot right smack in the center, the thickness of the vertical fin, right, so basically be a cut like a U shape, and it just fits right like a glove right in between. And what I started off first was basically sealing the edge here towards the fin and this plate on both sides, and then locking it down right into here on the 2 sides. All right, and then from there we lock the front right here in the center, and then from here we're going to start right in the middle. We're just going to pull down, and we're going to seal right here at this edge on both sides like that. Don't worry how it looks. Alright, it's going to look kind of funky in the beginning, but as long as we keep it nice and tight like this, we'll go ahead and seal that. And we'll come around the opposite side. We'll pull this down, over, and then down, and then we'll also seal this side. Alright, and we're going to just keep working our way down on both sides, sealing it while we pull. Alright, and so I'm going to go ahead and take care of this right here on this side. Just going to go ahead and tack that right there. Come back around on this side, and we'll do this. Tack this right here. Oh, that little snap was just the center here. It just came loose. So I'm just going to pull that back again and just seal that down. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and pull this right here. Put it nice and tight. I'm going to seal this end right here and probably right here too. Alright. Try not to get any wrinkles at the seam. That way when we do make the cut, it'll be nice and clean. Alright, so when you do make the cut here, the cut has to be as straight as you can. Alright, because any deviations in the cut, it's going to be very noticeable. And that goes around, you know, to everything on the plane. You want to make sure when you're making cuts that your cuts are nice and straight. That way the seams and the joints of the monocote is not going to be that noticeable. Alright, so we're just doing that all the way around. Like I said, don't worry about what the covering is doing up here. Alright? Don't worry about that at this point. As long as you're pulling it and you're getting as much of the slack out at this point, that is your main goal. The tighter you can get it right now, the less it's going to have to really heat up to shrink drum tight. Alright, just like that. We're just going to keep working our way, just like so. Alright. Now, you can do this all at one if you really are skillful, right? If you want to do the whole side together with the top one shot, you know, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of manipulation, you know, so I mean it can be done, but even with the amount of years I've been doing this, I always just do a separate piece for the top. Alright, so I'm giving it about an 1/8 of an inch overlap. I don't want it to be too much of an overlap, you know. Oops, alright. Okay, you see it here? I went ahead and I don't think you can see it. I accidentally put too much heat right here, and the monocote stuck to this piece right here. So I tried to pull it off, and then eventually what had happened, as you can see, it pulled the paint off. I'm not too worried about it. I'll show you how to take care of that, clean it up at the end. Alright? So the main thing here is just getting this whole thing sealed down on one side and then the other side as well. Alright, so just like so. Okay, now from here the fun part begins. Alright, so you can see where we're at. You can see how it doesn't look appealing at the moment. I sealed the front end. Alright, this is completely sealed all the way down. This is sealed around the vertical fin, sealed right here on both ends, and I tried to make it where the cut kind of matches the front leading edge, so it's barely noticeable. Alright, so we got that. Now the fun part begins, and we are going to take our heat gun and we will apply heat, and we will shrink this top portion of the monocote drum tight. Alright, make sure once again that if you're using this nozzle, that it is pushed up in there and it's not going to come off. Alright, let's get it nice and hot. Alrighty, here we go. See, we're constantly moving. You don't want to leave the heat gun there too long, because eventually, if it's on there too long, you'll burn a hole right through your monocote. Alright, we'll come back to that later. the opposite side here. Alright, and just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we got the top portion of the monocote drum tight. Alright, so that's pretty much how we do that. Alright. Now, you'll see if you get close up here where some of that monocote heat paint transfer, like right here. It's kind of hard to see. Alright, all that right here, some of that meltage, if that's even a word. Alright, so what we're going to do with that is pretty much get a rag, and I'm using this Home Depot lacquer thinner. Alright, and with this said, we will clean up the surrounding areas. Alright, to include the pen mark I made on the monocote, I'll basically clean that off just like so. And it will not damage the monocote. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and clean this off just like that. And this one had a piece of monocote that got stuck, and it'll take that off completely. We're going to clean this off just like this and get all the areas that had that little discoloration from the sealing iron. Kind of clean that off there. Alright, so just like that, we're cleaning it off. And this is just utilizing thinner from Home Depot, lacquer thinner. We're going to clean off everything here. Alright, just like that. On the opposite side here, I'll also clean this side. Just like that. Clean off this top end here. Sorry guys, I know you're not seeing a lot of things I'm doing right now. Let me pull this out there. I'm just going around everywhere that I use the sealing iron to seal. I'm just coming back around and just cleaning with the thinner. Just clean it off. Alright, to include the bottom side here. We got some areas like that. It's black. That's from the monocote and the paint. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and clean this off. Just like that. And this will give you a nice, clean looking job, if that's what you guys are looking for. Alright. So just like that, as you can see, that streak, that piece is gone. It's no longer hazy looking. It's nice and clean. Alright. Hopefully that helps. Alright guys. So the next thing we're going to be doing here is applying this Monokote pinstriping or stripe or whatever you want to call this. I cut this out freehand basically, and yeah, this is what we're going to be using. This is the dimensions on this. The width that I cut for this is 3/8 width or 3/8 wide, and I went through the camera. Probably not gonna pick it up, but you see I got Sharpie marker tick marks right there, basically 1/8 of an inch below the orange. All right, and so this is how I'm going to keep this thing nice and straight going down the length of the fuselage. So I'm going to pop this there. It's about the tick mark that I made earlier off camera, and I'm just going to go ahead and tack this corner just like that. I'm going to go to the other end, and I'm just going to pull this until I get this nice and straight, following all the tick marks that I made, the length of the fuselage, and most importantly at the end here at the mark. Alright, so I want to verify, make sure that the top of this is all at the 1/8 mark for the most part. The only deviation is going to be about here, the door. Being the fact that the door opens and closes, I tried to get this as even as possible, but you know, yeah, it is what it is. And so, if I were to measure from the orange on the door down 1/8, what's going to happen if I do that separately, the line when I put the door back on will be off. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and go right through just like this, 1/8 for the majority of the fuselage, all the way down, keeping it nice and straight all the way through. Alright, just like that. And so that's going to be pretty much where we're at here as far as this is concerned. Now, how do you iron this down and keep it straight? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sealing iron at low heat, and I'm going to just tap, just basically tagging it, tap all the way down, little by little, right? I'm not going to start off by ironing it straight down and work one from one end to the other. I'm going to just tack it down the full length. Once it's set, then I'll go back again, and then once I know everything is tacked down, I'll come back over on low heat with the sealing iron and run it from one end to the other. Alright, you can also help this out by smoothing it out the full length, just like so. That way you know that the monocote is pushed down. Now you can use the Windex method here. You can use the dry method like I'm doing right now. It's really all up to you how you want to do this. But other than that, this is what we're going to be doing. Alright, so I went ahead and I repositioned the aircraft so that it's a little comfortable for me. Alright. Yes, I want to get it in the video, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm comfortable. Alright. So just like that. 1/8 all the way down. So I got a good amount of tension on here to stretch it out. I'm going to go ahead and secure this end right here, just like so. I can let it go, and then from here we are just going to tack down certain areas all the way to front. Mind you, my sealing iron is on low heat, as you can see. I don't know if you can see it up there. Pretty much right below half. Alright, so I can put my hand on there, but it does have heat, and it's just enough to get this monocote tacked in place. Alright, just like that. Like I said here, I'm not too worried about this one because, like I said, I did this door basically separate from the main fuse, and I was just a little off. As you can see, it's a little higher than the main fuse because I didn't have it on the hinges when I popped it on there. I just put it on, and I guess should have been further down, but I already went ahead and I sealed it in, so it is what it is, guys. Alright. So now that I got it tacked in, I'm just going to work my way from one end, just putting a little bit of pressure, especially right here on the solid pieces. When I come up to the open bay area right here, I'm going to take my time. Alright. Take my time here. So it's pretty much gonna go like that all the way through. Alright guys, so we got basically the Dynaflite Super Decathlon fuselage. As far as the base color is concerned, everything's all covered. We just need to go ahead and do the actual accents, like the starburst that goes in the tail section. That's gonna be black and white. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of that later on, but right now we're gonna go ahead and tack the wing. So we're gonna get the wing basically all taken care of, sand it down, final sanded, and then we are going to cover that. Alright, but for what it is, here is where the fuselage is currently at. We still need to go ahead and cover the control surfaces, like the rudder and the elevators, but that doesn't take long at all. Alright, also got the dash panel that I made out of birch ply, 1/64 inch. So once again, as you can see, we got the door monocote as well, to include the little doohickey door handle stuff. No, that's not scale, guys, but you know, I needed, it's better to have that than to have the slit going on here and a little piece of wire protruding out. So that's gonna get glued on eventually once I'm finalize everything, and then from there you can just basically slide that forward and pull the door open. All right, so that's what that's gonna be doing, just like that. And then we go ahead and put that back and lock that in place, just like such. All right, cool. All right, so all right, guys, so we went ahead and I freehand the stars, starburst, however you want to call this. All right, the graphics that I'm putting on here, or pattern. All right, so I drew it on just a regular sheet of bonded white paper, Xerox paper type deal. And then after I ensured that I think I got the stars the way I really wanted to give it that look, I went ahead and plopped it over this glass and construction paper, which is a little bit more robust type deal, and just basically cut it with the X-Acto blade. And that's what I got. I got these pieces right here, the actual template. All right, so this is the template that I'm going to be utilizing to cut 12 of these. So 6 basically in the horizontal stab and 6 on the vertical fin. All right, so yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. I'm thinking of utilizing the cry cut machine and see if I could kind of draw this in there and just have it cut with a cry cut. Probably save a lot more time, being the fact that I'm gonna have to do 24 of these because I got to do the black. So 12 of the black and then 12 of the white, because it's gonna have that shadow effect type deal, you know. So with that said, I also have to ensure that I make the other set slightly bigger than this set. All right, so yeah, it is what it is. So that's pretty much what we got going on. I still got to go ahead and cover the opposite side elevator. Got kind of tired of doing it yesterday, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of that today. But in the meantime, I was just checking out the starburst design type deal. I just wanted to kind of see it on there, and then eventually that's gonna go here as well. So all this is gonna get done. All right, now the windscreen or windshield side windows, this one is just popped in there at the moment. It still has the glass protector, the Lexan protector, plastic protector, however you want to call it. All right, this one I already had glued on to the actual window, so this is all glued in. Before I glued it on, I went ahead and I scored this opening here and removed the clear protection in the inside portion that's actually going to contact the opposite side of this window. All right, but I went ahead and left the protection sheet here. So when everything's all said and done, I will go ahead and just peel this off, both front and back type deal. All right, but this plastic is basically already glued in to this window. All right, so yeah, and this particular windscreen, a little crack right there, so I think it's still gonna be okay because this is gonna be pushed down and glued in really well, so that's gonna be glued onto the side here. Then from there I can go ahead and kind of sand that a little bit, fill it with a little bit of epoxy or filler, and then we'll go ahead and mask the surrounding area, and we will paint the whole frame orange. Maybe put some little screw rivet type deals, you know, give it a little kick. All right, but that's pretty much what we got going on with the Dynaflite Super Decathlon. It's almost there. We still got, after we're done with the fuse, we still got to take care of the wings. All right, guys, back at the Dynaflite Super Decathlon once again. Today I went ahead and, after making my templates for the, I don't know what you call it, starburst. Yeah, it is what it is. And I got a template for the larger black, and oh, that's my daughter stamped my hand. And I also got a smaller one that will be used to cut the white monocote, and the white will basically fit right in between the black outline. All right, so I'm utilizing the Windex method at the moment to go ahead and apply this. Right now this is not even ironed down on there. I just went ahead and used the Windex, sprayed the top monocote there, and then used my plastic squeegee and removed as much of the Windex underneath, and also trying to remove as much air bubbles as possible. And then from there we'll go ahead and just allow this completely dry, and once it's completely dried we'll come back and on low heat with the sealing iron and just kind of run it over, working from thick to thin just to eliminate potential bubbles. See right here I got the white, and what I did with that is I basically took my construction paper template, plopped it in there like so, and traced it out with the X-Acto blade. All right, so as you see I got 2L there and 2R. So right is what R is, and that's for the right hand side. So when I'm gonna cut for the right hand side, I gotta ensure that I have it this way, because that will go in the proper orientation. And then eventually for the left hand side it's flopped over this way. All right, so went ahead and did the left, and the white, as you can see here, this is for the white, and this template is slightly smaller than this template. All right, this template is for the black. And so if you come back to the aircraft, you'll see exactly what that will do for me. All right, so just like that. So I got the black laid in, or laid on there, and I'm utilizing the Windex method. If you watch some of my covering videos, I show you 4 or 5 different methods on how to actually apply monocote over monocote, and I'm utilizing the Windex method. You spray it on here and then you apply the monocote, squeegee it out with your plastic spreader, get all that material from underneath the monocote, and then from there let it dry completely, and then we'll come back with the sealing iron on low heat, and we'll just basically really secure that down. And so I'm going to do this one by one. We're not going to put the white on just yet. I just did this just for the video, just so you can see exactly what the outcome would be once we got the black and the white put together. All right, so this eliminates having to do strips of pinstriping, you know, cutting out 1/8 strips of monocote and trying to do that, you know, it prevents that. All right, so just a little easier. All right guys, so we're gonna go ahead and cut our black. I already got the template down. All right, got it taped over here just so it doesn't move around on me. All right, I'm just gonna lightly follow the template. We'll see basically how fast we can do this without screwing it up. All right, this is not a race, but it doesn't take long. It's the whole purpose of this little demonstration. Provided that you got a sharp blade, a new blade on here, fresh blade, however you want to call it. You don't have to press hard. You're just basically gliding that blade over, just following the sides of the template. I don't know if it's really picking up on the camera, but that star is done now. And so from here we're just going to get our ruler, and to ensure that we get a straight cut for this big portion, I will utilize the ruler and put it towards the edge of the template, just like so, so that we can ensure we get a nice straight cut from one end all the way to the actual star, just like that. And then we'll just go ahead and prop this up, still holding on to your template so it doesn't move over, you know, move on you and cause issues. Alright, so we're going to get this as close to the template as we can, just like that. And now I'm in an awkward position because I'm going to end up having to cut it this way. All the way to there. Then I'm going to have to start down here. Hopefully I don't move the ruler. There you go. Alright, so that's done. And then we're just going to remove the tape that's holding this part down. And we are just going to cut the template loose. Or not the template, but the Monokote. So just like that, we actually have our piece. Alright. So just like that, we have our star piece, and we're going to go and show you how I put it on the control surface or the horizontal stab with the Windex method. Alright guys. Alright, so for the Windex method, what we're going to be doing is ensure that our camera is positioned right. Sorry about that, camera moved on me. Alright, so first things first is we want to get the left and right to match up with each other, right? So we're gonna go ahead and find just basic spots, measurements, as to where we're gonna go ahead and mimic the marks on the opposite side here. Alright, so I'm gonna start off with this piece right here, right at the leading edge, and then back. It's about an inch. So I'm about an inch in on that side, or from the leading edge. So I'm gonna go right here, and then I will go about an inch in. I'll put a mark. Alright, so we got my black mark right there. And then from here, I would say we'll go from here to here and measure how far from the tip of the star to this edge here, and that will place me roughly about 6 3/4. Alright, so 6 3/4. What I'm going to do is come over here, go about 6 3/4, and roughly about right there, right here, if you can see it, there's a mark. And that's going to be where the tip of my star will be placed, as close to the leading edge, and then the back end is going to line up at this mark. And that should basically drop us right about the same exact location. And then from there, what we can do also is measure the trailing edge here to the actual the black over there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and separate the backing off of this, and just start getting it applied onto the surface there. And so what I'm doing here is just grabbing 2 pieces of tape. I said this is not going to be a how-to video, but you know what, I'm getting a lot of questions on how am I doing this. So I know I got a lot of videos out there on how to do it, but instead of looking and searching for those videos, I'll just go ahead and do it here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just spray lightly. You don't have to go too crazy on it. I'm gonna go ahead and place my Monokote down, keeping it as close to the mark on both marks that I made here. Alright, so all we gotta do from here, just go ahead and squeegee out all that Windex. Try to get out all the bubbles. And mind you, if you don't get all the bubbles out during the drying process, that bubble, basically the small ones, they'll just basically evaporate and disappear, and you won't even see the bubble on the bottom or through the Monokote. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and just clean off some of this excess Windex, just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and finalize this and just getting all this squeegee out, all them bubbles, just like that. Alright, so just like that, we should be exactly the same as the opposite side, or as close to. Alright, so we're talking about this guy here and this guy here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let that dry, and we'll come back later on once this one's all dried, and then we'll take our sealing iron on low heat, and we'll just basically run the sealing iron over the whole black, ensuring that we still try to remove any bubbles if there's any. Alright, and just get this Monokote to really adhere to the surface. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and cut the other two and do the same. Alright guys, so we went ahead and I finally ironed down the Monokote. This one right here, this one is completely drying. This is the one I did last night. This has the Windex basically on there. It's completely drying up. It should be good. I'm gonna go ahead and run this over with the iron, and hopefully bubbles don't come up. But as you can see here, this is the completed finish here. So yeah, now we're gonna just, I got the white right there. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing we did the first time. We're gonna go ahead and spray this black areas with Windex, and we're gonna go ahead and put the white on top, get that situated, squeegee all the Windex out, and get it to dry once again before we come back and actually iron down the white to secure it onto the black. Alrighty. Alright guys, so this is what we're doing right now. We're just basically gonna spray a light mist of Windex onto the surface. We're gonna go ahead and take our Monokote. We're gonna position it to where we want. It's one thing good about the Windex as well. You can basically move it around. It's almost like utilizing soapy water, you know. Good thing about this is that Windex dries, you know, quicker compared to soapy water. Alright, and then from here, what we're going to do, we're just gonna, after we got it set for what we think we want it, we're just gonna go ahead and squeegee most of this out. Try to get the air bubbles out as well. Alright. Just like so. Alright. You're probably not going to get every single air bubble out in the beginning, but just keep working it until you get most of the Windex out of there. Alright, and okay, so let's say you want to reposition it again, you can still just lift it up because underneath it's still a little wet. You know, it does take a little bit for it to completely dry, so you still can move it around. And so I want it to be just about right here. I thought I had it where I wanted it in the beginning, but just for the sake of the video, I intentionally did that, just so you could see the possibilities. So I get a lot of people asking questions in regards to it, and it's kind of hard to try to keep up with everybody with all the questions, so I try to remember and just kind of incorporate it in the video. Hopefully it answers some of those questions, but I find it that a lot of people don't want to watch the videos, they rather just be told. So it is what it is. I can't please everybody. Alright, so just like this, squeezing out all the Windex that's in between, as well as also sighting down the monocoat, making sure that most of the air bubbles that is trapped underneath has been completely removed. Alright, so we did that. I also did this side earlier. Alright, and then we could come back and just wipe all the Windex residue off. Alright, so just like that, get out all the bubbles. If you have any bubbles in there, try to work it out, especially the big bubbles. Alright guys, alright, and if you can't get all of them out, you know, sometimes the when the Windex dries, that section basically would subside and become flat. Now if it doesn't, then you basically will take your needle and kind of prick that bubble, iron it down. Alright, no big deal. If you can get it where you can't get any bubble, you don't get any bubbles at all, period, then you're awesome. Alright, and it just takes a little bit of working, but let me tell you, compared to doing this thing dry, you're better off getting good results doing this method, especially if you're not really keen on you know, the sealing iron techniques and stuff. Alright, you will get good results regardless, compared to if you were to go and iron these things on dry. Trust me, you will have a lot more air bubbles trapped, and it's gonna look like a mess. Alright, so if you get onesie twosies, you get a little bit more bubbles on here, you know, don't beat yourself up on it. Now if you're doing this for a competition or something like that, then alright, beat yourself up. But anywho, this is just for my personal satisfaction, so I'm not gonna beat myself up on it. That's bad. So if I have bubbles on it, so be it. You know, I'm not gonna dwell over it. because when push comes to shove and I really do need to do something for like a, which I never did enter a competition, but let's say if I had to or I wanted to, then I would really concentrate. But right now there's no concentration here. I'm just doing, as you can see, everything here. I'm just going on and just continue doing what I'm doing. So I got all 3 stripes or star streaks, star bursts, star streaks, yeah. I got it all on there. Alright. So just like that. Alright. Then I'm going to take my rag. I'm just going to come back and just wipe all that excess off, the residue that just all over the place. Alright. Now be mindful if you're doing the star thing that if your stars, the tips, alright, they will snag on your rag or your cloth. You see how that is? Alright, so don't go rubbing it, you know, because it will snag on there. And if you get lint underneath those edges, it's gonna cause the that tip to always come up even after you iron it down. You're gonna actually have to really melt it down to have it stay. And even after that, what I normally do is I take clear nail polish and I'll just kind of put it on the edges of the stars just to really seal that in there. That way when you're wiping it down at the field with your cleaner and stuff like that, you're not also just peeling up the monocote there. Alright. Everybody has different ways. My way, this is not the only way. Alright. But just want to share it. Alright. So just like that. I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry completely before we come back with the sealing iron once again. And we're going to slowly, on low heat, we're going to slowly go over the whole graphic area here and really lock down the white onto the black. At the same time, it's also locking the black once again. Alright, so what we're going to do from here is separate the elevator from the horizontal stab. And just grab my blade here. Sorry about that. So we're going to go ahead and separate this. And what I do normally is just grab my razor blade, put it on the side, just run it straight down, keeping it nice and straight. Here I'm gliding it on the trailing edge, just like that, keeping it nice and straight, keeping it touching the trailing edge, and we're good to go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove this tape here. Let me use my okay. Just gonna remove the tape. Now we got that separated. We can remove the hinges and we can work on getting the edges here wrapped around and in line with the orange underneath. Alright, so we're going to do that. Alright, so as a matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and look at the surface. As you can see, try to minimize the bubbles as much, but I'm fine, I'm happy with it. So we'll just go with that. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and come back here. We're gonna seal all the edges down around here, and then take care of the elevator and finish up the hotel section. Last night I went ahead and I ironed down the white on the left hand side horizontal stab and elevator. Today we're gonna go ahead and take care of the right and just pretty much get tying everything all together. All right, so the white here has been completely dried with the Windex from last night, so we're gonna go ahead and iron the white down onto the black, really securing and sealing this off, getting this fully attached. All right, and then we got to also do the black here, because this one, once again, we just laid this down last night, so everything is all pretty much dried, and so we just got to run the sealing iron on low heat over the star streaks. All right, on the left hand side vertical fin here, the white, I just went ahead and placed it on. It's just being held on there, static type deal. All right, and we can't do the white on this side just yet until we get the right hand side black sealed in there. Reason for that is because we want to make sure we get a good overlap here and joining each end. All right, so once we get that done, we could go ahead and secure this left hand side white star streaks onto the vertical fin and rudder. All right, guys, let's get her done and put some more Windex. All right, and we're going to go ahead and lay the white onto here. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and place it on, figure out where we really want it, and then we're going to come back with the plastic spreader, and we're just going to go ahead and remove air bubbles, remove some of that Windex underneath that is trapped. We won't be able to remove every single one. All right, but the main thing is just trying to get it as bubble free as possible at this stage. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just do that for now. Go ahead and put the other one. All right, just like so. Figure out where I want it, just like that. Getting all that. And we'll do the third and final piece of white on this side. Just like that. We'll go ahead and we'll remove the excess Windex, trying to eliminate as much of the bubbles. Alright. There you go. Just like that. Alright. So from here on out, we're just gonna go and continue working this until we get as much of those air bubbles out from underneath. go ahead and allow this to completely dry before we come back over the whole thing with the sealing iron on low heat. All right, so from there we're just gonna go ahead and wipe all that excess. We're just gonna kind of dab it because we don't want to move the Monokote. And be careful, especially if you're doing the star streaks type deal. You know, you got your pointed edges on the Monokote. At this time you don't want to rub it back and forth type deal, because eventually lint, this is a microfiber cloth, you don't want it to get snagged on the tips. All right, and once it gets snagged on the tips, it leaves behind some lint, and then it makes it harder. See, just like that, it makes it harder for the Monokote to adhere properly. All right, so just me talking, and I did exactly what I said not to do. But oh well, we're human. Dang it, I want to be an alien from outer space. Alright guys, so this is the hardest part for me right now, is to remove these dang decals or the masking, because my eyesight is not all that great when it comes to something this small. And so I'm trying, and boy, it's difficult for me. And it comes to a point where I end up gouging just a little bit of the white. As you can see there, that one's not all that bad, but I still gouged the white a little. Oh boy, this is really hard for me. This is one thing that I probably would say is kicking my rear. only because this thing is so tiny. I'm holding my breath trying to do this at the same time. I don't know if that camera's even picking it up, but it is what it is, guys. Oh boy. All right. Got that done. Super Decathlon. Alright, so basically we're gonna be wet sanding the cowling. I already did a little bit. So I'm gonna be using 2000 grit sandpaper. I also have 1500 here. Alright, just in case. I also have this sanding pad. This is the Scotch pad, ultra fine gray type deal. Alright. And what we're trying to do here main effect, this is rattle can paint, right? Krylon. This one has the glossiness on it. Automotive clear coat technically needs something to bind to. If you were to spray automotive clear coat over the glossiness of this, more than likely over time your clear coat will start to peel away or flake off. All right, so to prevent stuff like that, normally we would start off at least with 400, maybe even 600 grit, you know, before we do clear. If you're doing the automotive steps with automotive paints and stuff, normally we'll just tack rag it after the flash time of the base coat, and then we'll go straight into clear. But since we're not doing that here, this is rattle can paint, we're going to top it off with automotive clear. We want to make sure that the surface is prepped enough to adhere the clear coat to the surface, which is in this case the Krylon painted surface. All right, and this time as well would also kind of smooth out your paint. All right, so if you have any blotches or rough spots, provided that you did do a good coat, all right, if you just put one light coat, more like you probably sand off the color. So in this case, in this cowling, I have 3 coats, and so what we're doing here, we're just gonna go here, we're just gonna utilize the water and the wet sandpaper, and we're just gonna lightly go over the surface of this, and keep in clean water at all times, so you don't want to build up residue type deal, and then go over and start scratching your surface even more. All right, and so if you have any imperfections, blemishes or whatnot, this is the time where the wet sanding will go ahead and smooth everything out and take care of all that. All right, like I said, if you're doing automotive paints, you normally won't have to do this. You just go right into, from primer, you wet sand the primer, about 320 grit sandpaper, 400 if anything, and then you go right into Prepsol wax and grease remover, paint your base coat, flash time, tack rag in between coats type deal, and then flash time again on the base coat, between base coat to clear coat. All right, so pretty much that's in a nutshell. As you can see now, my surface is dull. Alright, we don't have that glossiness from the rattle can. Alright, I did everything to include my side here. Alright, to include the white. Everything is all dulled down. Alright, as you can see. And there's whatever imperfections, any like you have any like orange peel looking type stuff during the spray of the rattle can. This is a good time to take care of that. The smoother your surface is here at this time, the better and cleaner your work will look once the automotive clear coat is sprayed on. All right, I don't know if you could see it here. Let me see if you can catch it on the camera here, but right there, see it's still glossy here on the front because I didn't touch that, and you see it looks almost like orange peel. All right, so what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna go back with the sandpaper, and we're just gonna spend some time. Normally what we call this is color sand, block sanding. All right, normally you get a sanding block, sponge type, rubberized type deal, and then you put your sandpaper on that, and that gives it a base, something flat, where you know if you were to put pressure of your fingers, you won't leave indentations or impressions. So you'll cut your paint nice and even all the way through.